Hi there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
And I'm John Humphrey.
We're gonna watch today a video called Sorry to Bother You Explained in 7 minutes.
Oh boy.
This is from the channel Let Me Explain. You see, at our Patreon, we do weekly Q&As, TV show reaction watch-alongs, and John does music video coverage that I occasionally am in with him as well. And one of our top reward tiers, whatever video you request, we must definitely do and put up on the YouTubes. Even if that means it might possibly get blocked, we'll try. And today comes from our good friend, Jay. How's it going, Jay? A little backstory on this video. Not this specific one, but our journey to watching this video. I saw Sorry to Bother You many months ago. It's a very strange movie. And John hadn't seen it. And I told Jay that I'm going to tell John to watch this movie. And then after he watches it, we can cover this video, because I don't want to ruin for him, because I feel like John would probably really like this movie.
Yeah,
and
I would rather not see the 7-minute
cut.
cut.
It's such a strange and weird movie that I'm like, I'd rather just John watch it first, and then we could watch this. And John did watch it, and he quite enjoyed it, right?
Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Good movie.
And it earned all the right Golden Globe nominations
Most
that it deserved.
definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, let's check it out. I could use a refresher. Hope they explain some stuff a little, because I remember after it was done watching it, I had to go online and be like, so what? What about the horses exactly? And then I was like, oh, what a cool explanation, Boots Riley. Then I just kind of left my mind. So
very literal metaphor.
I could go for it again to see what's up.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of my favorite movies of the year, you know? Obviously, if you've seen my videos, you know that I love filling in with spoilers, because when I want to talk about a movie, I want to talk about a movie. Obviously, I also started the video with my rating because, you know, I want you guys to experience the movies for yourself. I give you my rating, you can go check them out if you'd like, and then we get into it over here where I break it down. And this is one where you don't want to get it spoiled, especially with that third act. Because while I know that some of you are going to go in, you're maybe not going to vibe with that ending. Some of you guys will love it. It's one of those movies where, regardless of where you fall, there's a lot to break down.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what I got out of it. Let me explain. So if you don't know Boots Riley, man's the G. He's making music in several projects for years. He actually wrote this movie back in 2012 when we were all supposed to die or something. But instead, he came out with an album that has the same title as the movie. So it's kind of like a soundtrack that came out years before the film was even released. He then made it into a book, and now we got the movie, which is one of my favorites of the year. Now, one of the biggest reasons why I like it is because it's indirectly, yet directly kind of giving you a message, if you know what I mean. Like, nowadays, everyone complains when something is political, but everything's political. Like I said before, it only bothers you when you don't agree with it. But at the same time, I do also get when something can be heavy-handed, right? Whether you agree with something or you don't. There's some movies where they forget to be movies, and they're just like a dude with a bullhorn, right? Like, they forget the artistic part of it. Yeah. But the thing with Sorry to Bother You is that this movie can be released 40 years ago. It can be released 2 centuries from now, and it would still apply because my man wasn't concerned in shoving, you know, current connections into this thing.
Omari Hardwick's character had a line in it that I had to take out because the world made many of the lines in the movie too on the nose. So his line was, "WorryFree is making America great again." And that was in the 2014 version that came out on McSweeney's.
Now, this is based off telemarketers who are known for the saying, "Sorry to bother you," as they intrude in your daily lives. And I like how this movie literally visually shows you them appearing right before you. You got Cassius in this film, who's a dude just trying to make it by, moving up the ranks. His girlfriend Detroit, who creates art and rebels more than her character did in Thor. Squeeze, who literally goes town to town creating protests and starting up unions. And his friend Sal, who... My man was doing interviews in a Mighty Morphin shirt, and his character in the movie is just as chill as that. The big thing about the movie is this, right? You got this telemarketing agency that's all about sticking to the script, which is obviously a metaphor to how, you know, everyone nowadays just sticks to a certain norm, right? To quote High School Musical, they don't want you to make any big changes, and obviously don't care about the protest. But when Cassius gets promoted and has to leave everyone behind, you then get into this very interesting debate, right? Because I'm sure some of y'all have had that feeling. You know, you get a little money, and then people think that all of a sudden you've changed, and you gotta sit there like, well, yeah, I can finally afford a new shirt. It's interesting because it's a sort of debate that, yeah, he did leave his boys in the cause behind, but at the same time, the boys in the cause weren't giving him the money he needed to feed his family, and Uncle Terry needs those gains. But it's one of those things where the way that he finds success is by finding his white voice, which isn't just sounding like you need Nasonex, but that you sound worry-free, that you speak with such ease and pride that people listen.
Hey, Mr. Kramer, this is Langston from Real View.
Of course, you gotta watch this movie from an absurdist point of view, right? It's not super real. There's a bunch of magical stuff that happens, but I love how the white voices are voiced by a freaking manager of the Chipmunks who's voicing Cash, damn Ratatouille Oswald who's voicing Omari's character. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought we were all David Cross.
Oh, and
But it's interesting
the
that
girl from
even
Baby
characters
Driver
like
does,
Tessa
Tessa
Thompson,
Thompson.
who's supposed to be the one who's rebelling against all of this, she even has her own white British voice when she's putting on a performance. Because the metaphor of the white voice, which even applies to white people, is that it's all about us pretending to be something that we're not. With that also comes how we're numb to a bunch of things, right? Like the movie shows you a show that everyone watches, which is pretty much people getting beat up, which we kind of already watch that stuff now. There's a girl who signs a 6-figure deal just for going viral at a protest because she created a meme. And that tends to happen now too. So when they get into the worry-free part of things, right? WorryFree being the company that takes a page out of downsizing and pitches people a place where everything is provided for them worry-free. They just gotta work in these factories and live in these stripped-down hostiles. That makes you start going, I feel like we're gonna see an ad for this in 5 years. But it's the third act where things go crazy.
Yes.
You got your boy Armie Hammer who, he's running worry-free, but the problem is that he's not only playing this evil CEO, he's playing this evil CEO a little too well. Like, he took both Twinklevoss twins and then just times them by 3.
So you have post-traumatic stress disorder over here, and the opposite side of the pendulum swing is post-traumatic growth, which is an actual condition where instead of saying, I was in a situation that traumatized me and I'll never recover, you're in a traumatic situation, and what you do to compensate is say, I will never be in that situation again.
That's called getting out of the trap, my man. What's easily the craziest part of the movie is his plan to turn the humans who are in his worry-free facility into horses, to create these horse things so that they can be a more efficient species, so they can handle labor better. And he even offers $100 million in cash to Cash so that he can be their horse Moses. This man wants to fabricate an MLK before they even riot, so he has a spy on the in. That's wild. Can you imagine if big companies in our real world were actually responsible for the riots that are held against them? Like they're the ones inciting the incidents because they know insurance will cover it, or that it will benefit them? That would be crazy. I know the horse applies when people start saying that it gets a little too crazy, but let me explain why it works, right? I personally believe the farther you get from reality, the better it is to view reality. Like, obviously, it's a metaphor, right, of turning people into workhorses. The idea of some minorities with the phrase, hung like a horse. Ironically, I would even compare it to BoJack Horseman, you know, not just because I'm a cartoon and I love that show, but because that's an absurdist cartoon where it handles depression better than a lot of drama series. This one does too. When this thing gets so crazy that you can't help but laugh, you kind of see things more objectively. On top of that, it's a character arc. Cassius, the entire movie, is sticking to the script. He never stands up for what he believes in until he himself literally becomes a horse. You know, the metaphor of literally becoming a new person. That he finally has a new outlook on life, and he finally starts fighting for the cause. I also love how this movie has a bunch of Easter eggs, which makes you want to rewatch it. Like, Forrest Whitaker produces the movie, but he also voices the first horse you see. Yeah. Michelle Gondry is a fantastic director who's made these stuff. It's kind of like, he's in a little Easter egg during the stop motion video, which I thought was cool. Knowing that Cassius eventually will become a horse explains that scene where he trips after he chases that car that splashes him, because baby horses have weak legs. There are a bunch of cool things, a bunch of theories that are definitely out there. And I will pin whoever comes up with the coolest one if you're able to blow my mind down below. As long as you don't type it in your white voice. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Like I said, this is one of my favorites of the year. I think there's a lot to discuss. I may have an ATZ video that gets even deeper than what I did in this one, but I'm curious to know your thoughts. Definitely let me know down below in the comment section whether it worked for you, whether it didn't. I know some people are coming out going, nah, that third act's a little bit too crazy. Especially when you see it. I had no footage of the horses, but even if I did, I don't know if I want to show you guys that stuff because it looked a little bit crazy. Curious to know your thoughts. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below, and I'll send you some Jack in the Box.
All right.
Can
That was a
we really
well
get that
constructed
Jack in the
video.
Box?
It was a very well constructed video this guy put together, man.
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is a very, very strange movie. He definitely did open my eyes a lot more as to what was really going on in that film. I was so taken aback by when the horses appeared.
Yeah.
That I wasn't even registering what the metaphor was.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
so like, what the fuck is
happening?
going on right now?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so left field, especially watching it in a theater where you think you know where this is going.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's about to meet top corporate white guy played by
Yeah.
Armie Hammer. He's gonna offer him some money. This is probably where he's gonna start realizing what's going on in his life, and it does.
But
But in
not
such a different
Yeah.
painting.
just
Yeah.
not at all the way you expected that to happen, and in such a disconcert, like whether it works or not, it definitely impacts you in that moment.
Yeah.
for sure. I like what he points out here about just the use of politics, I guess, because one of the things I appreciated a lot about this movie is the fact that it is like very political. The main subplot is about a union happening and, you know, workers' rights and, you know, some reasonably socialist ideas. And that could have become something that was, you know, it's like I share a certain amount with this movie, sure, but, you know, sitting there, I was like, this works even if I didn't care about what was going on. You know, like even if I didn't think this was relevant at all, or even if I was against this kind of thing, I'm still like, it's not getting in the way of the telling of the story so much as it's just a part of the world of it. I like that it seemed like the part of a journey of a life, you know, because you do have this political situation, but it's also very real in the sense that when he gets promoted to power caller and stuff like that, you're like, well, what would I do? Because you got to pay the bills and, you know, you're going to lose your place because your uncle's on the outs. Like, yeah, I feel like that was one of my favorite things that he touched on is, the way that everything is political in its own way. And this movie sort of avoids feeling like it's just trying to preach at you by being a full-on movie. And I think that's where a lot of the fantastical elements helped for me, too. Because I was like, oh, like, you're really bothering to not just tell me what you believe about this particular topic. Or
What did you think about when he turns into a horse at the end?
That's the one part I'm still kind of wondering about because it's so satisfying the way you think it ends up, and then when he starts to turn, it's almost like a horror movie at that point. It's like a gotcha.
Well, yeah,
moment.
because it is like, oh, he did fulfill the role that Armie Hammer set out to do, but he didn't pay him.
Yeah. It's like he didn't even mean, like, it just happened anyway.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah. There's a great quote that Steven Yeun says at the end of the movie. It's like, if you show people a problem they have no idea how to harness, they'll just get used to the problem.
The main plot points I really liked, and there were even side storylines I liked. My weird problems come in with, like, nitpicks. Like, Steven Yeun sleeps with Tessa Thompson, or doesn't sleep, but does stuff. I think that's what they established, right? Like, they don't sleep together, but they do stuff.
Everything but.
Yeah. From just, like, a script standpoint, I was like, what was the point of that? Everything's so, like, rooted in messages and points. And then there was the one plot point, and I was like, were you looking for something for their characters to do? And I feel like no one touches on that because it's such a side thing with the movie. But it does become a focal point for Tessa Thompson's character and Steven Yeun. Like, they're flirting throughout, and then they eventually do stuff together.
Yeah, I kind of took that as sort of a sensical, just given the situation, like a little life moment. Because part of what I really liked about that moment is the conclusion of that conversation where he's like, if it's not going to happen again, I don't want to know. And she never actually verifies it, even though we know. And so I thought that was a nice character choice, and maybe the best I can draw out of it is like, oh, maybe this just says that her character is way more attracted to somebody who's like proactive and firm in their beliefs or whatever, because that becomes a lot of the conflict between her and Cash is how Cash totally sells out and is kind of ineffectual until he touched on that. And that's the thing is, I thought the arc kind of wrapped for Cash earlier than that, but him turning at the very end is sort of the completion of that, where it's like, oh shit, I'm transformed. This is completely visceral. I feel like towards the end of the movie, in the third act, he learns the lesson. But turning brings it fully home.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I'm left wondering is, like, was this a super time release version of the horse powder?
Must have been.
Why did it take so long?
Especially if he's talking about the foreshadowing of when he trips and falls and stuff.
Yeah. And that whole, like, are my nostrils bigger? You know,
Yeah.
those little tiny things. And in that way, them hinting at it and doing a very convincing job of making you think it's not going to happen. And then it does. I was like, oh, shit. Like, there are a lot of uneasy things about this movie, and that's kind of what I appreciate the more I think about them, because I'm like, yeah, I can totally see why you wouldn't like this choice. It is a jarring, weird choice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of fits with the overall shape of this movie to me.
One of the most brilliant scenes in here, and I can't quote it, but one of the most brilliant scenes in here was one of the most uncomfortable
Okay.
and one of the funniest
Okay.
and one of the scenes you shouldn't be laughing at simultaneously
Yeah.
is when he's at Army Hammer's party and
Ha.
everyone's like, rap!
Oh God.
Rap, and he can't freestyle because he's black. They expect him to. A lot of the movie, it's not only about, like how white people view black people. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's about
how society tends to view black people. But in that specific moment, then he starts just saying the N-word repeatedly. And the crowd
N-word
goes,
shit.
Yeah, and the crowd starts going nuts.
Yeah,
And there's like a bunch of white people who are
chanting it back at him.
Yeah.
I know you can bust a rap, right?
No, actually, I can't.
Rap, 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 rap.
A lot of moments really stand out to me, but that specific moment did speak to me in a lot of ways.
It's like a weird, very telling moment that doesn't need to be a confrontation to get a point across to you.
I don't know the exact meaning of that scene, but as a person who's not black, it makes me flash to moments where I'm like, if I'm listening to rap music and they're saying the N-word, I'm like, can I speak along with this?
Am I just quoting the song?
But I'm like, if there's a black person around, I'm definitely not going to. If I'm doing a karaoke song, I'm definitely not going to. And yet, we love that kind of music, but in order for that kind of music to be produced, a lot of times you need a life of struggle. So like I feel like there's a lot of ways to interpret that, and I find that very fascinating in terms of like the musical point with Boots Riley having a musical background.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we love this black music.
Yeah, we want to take it, we want to make it
but
our
we
own.
want you to kind of have a struggling, tough life in order for that kind of music to be produced
We want you to
that
do
we
too
can
well.
have fun with. And nod our heads at our big ass fancy parties.
And ignore the context that brought a lot of this
Yeah,
to this
exactly.
point.
Yeah.
And then, hey, we just had this situation pop up in culture not long ago because Kendrick Lamar pulled somebody up on stage to rap along with one of his songs. There was an N-word in that verse, and she said it, and it became a debate anyway. It became like a internet controversy at the very least.
Yeah.
You gotta bleep one single word though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do it?
Yeah, you did it.
I'm so sorry.
So it is like a fascinating debate. And the other thing that he touches on in this video about race in general that I really appreciate about the movie overall is the way that the white voice conversation is more broad. Like the trailer, you're like, oh, nifty, fun. It's an absurd, white people. But then when he expands on it, he's like, white people don't even all have the white voice because it's not about just sounding nasal.
I'm not talking about sounding all nasal. It's like sounding like you don't have a care. Got your bills paid. You're happy about your future. You're about ready to jump in your Ferrari out there after you get off this call.
Like, I love that they got to that point where it's like, it's about sounding carefree.
Worry-free,
Yeah. And that is fascinating because it almost defies races, even though on the surface level it feels very locked into races. It's a very more broad class-oriented thing, and it's I feel like there's a lot in this movie you can chew on.
It's a rewatchable movie. Like, this is a rewatchable film.
Oh yeah.
All right, Jay. Well, thanks for requesting this. And hey, major thanks to Let Me Explain for putting this awesome video together.
dug it.
Jay, glad you got your letter. Your shirt's on its way, buddy. And we love you, man. Hope you're having a good December and you have a Merry Christmas, my friend. You guys can subscribe to the Let Me Explain YouTube channel. We're hitting that subscribe button right now. And you guys can subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. And check us out on Patreon. Got a bunch of goodies over there.